If you're here, I'm sure if you're here, I'm sure you guys are either planning or planning to go to some kind of career fair. So there are definitely some do's and don'ts, and I was going to go over all of that. But first and foremost, if you're planning to go to this career fair, if I look at the first few slides, it'll really tell you how to go over that. And then I'll come back at the end and I'll say a few words before you guys have read through them. You guys are coming with good.
Yes. So like Brian said, thank you guys for coming. And this presentation is meant to prepare you for a career fair. It could be either, like he said, the NJT career fair that's upcoming, or RODC, which I'm pretty sure most of you are going. So let's get started. So when is the NJT career fair? It's the 11th, Friday. It's 11:30. That's why we don't have an event that day. You know, we want you guys to go to that. It's a great opportunity. It's completely virtual. So make sure you go to CDS and you look at all the available like sessions and sign up because they get filled quickly. So make sure you register for as many sessions as you can before like they get taken. The different sessions are like one-on-ones. So you get to be one-on-one with a recruiter, or it can be a group session where it's just a group of you asking questions to a recruiter. Either way, sign up for them. It's a great opportunity. If you're a freshman or if you're not looking for anything, still sign up. It's a great practice for the future. You never know when you're going to need it. So like I said, register on Handshake and find available sessions and pick one. Try to do it as soon as you can and before it gets taken. Right, so getting ready for the career fair. So you should prepare an appropriate introduction, which is the elevator pitch, which I went over like a couple days ago. You should review your resume. We are going to have a resume review event coming up, so you can bring it to us. We'll check it for you, make sure everything's good. You know, check all that out for you. Or you can go to GDS. They also have like great services for resume reviews. Practice your communication skills. So talking to the recruiter, you know, approaching them, starting that conversation with them, get things going. Make sure your LinkedIn's up to date. As I mentioned in the previous event, make sure your summary is up to date. You have a picture in there. You have your skills or your strengths, everything. And finally, research the companies you're interested in. I mentioned this before in a couple of our meetings, but it's super important because not only are they going to know that you're interested on them and that you're curious, but you can also make it a conversation starter. For example, if you're working on a drone project and they're a drone company, you can bring something up and relate it to a project they're working on at their company. So make sure you do your research so you know who you're talking to and what to talk about. Right, so preparing your resume. First, keep your resume the most current. So put the latest things you've done there. Put things from this semester. In my resume, I have a classes section where I put like my important classes that relate to my field. I already updated it with this semester's classes. So make sure you do that if you have a section like that. You know, keep it up to date. Emphasize your accomplishments related to the job interest. I mentioned before I have a big resume where I have all my skills and all the things I've done, and then I tailored that resume. So I pick things that relate to the job I'm applying for. Something like that, you tweak your resume, make it and put an emphasis on what you're applying for. Also, do not leave any gaps. If they see like a big gap in there, like a 6-month gap, they're gonna assume you did nothing and that you were just lazy, and they don't want a lazy employee working for them. Provide details so they know so they can understand that you know what you're talking about and they can know with more accuracy what you're talking about and what your strengths are. You don't need to put your availability like, oh, I'm available from June to August. You don't need to put that. They know you're not in school during those times, so that's not necessary. Do not include any personal info. So things as like your exact address. I had that and I took it off. Do not include that, but do include contact info like email and phone number, so they can know they have a way of reaching out to you. Include your honors and professional affiliations. So if you're part of a professional frat or if you got like Dean's Award or scholarships that you know it really make you stand out in some qualities of you, put that in there. Keep it one page, no longer than one page. We're undergrads. We don't really have that much. And they also don't, it's just one page. That's the format. And finally, keep it easy to read and check spelling. Spelling is really important. I've seen people get called out for misspells and grammar errors. So make sure you double check and triple check it. Or bring it up to us and we'll take a look at it. Right, so things to avoid is wrong phone numbers and emails. It happened to right here, this guy right here. So he put the wrong email. He put at njt.com, And they were like, what the? And the recruiter called him out. He was like, wait a minute, is that right? And then he was like, nah, that's wrong. So he didn't get the job. So yeah, make sure you check for phone numbers and emails. Make sure they're the right ones, or else they're just gonna call someone else and give them the offer. Avoid having a resume that reads like a job description. I know a lot of people, they just go to the job description and take whatever is there and put on the resume. Don't do this. That's really vague. That's really, and it's most likely not what you were doing. So don't do it. Don't have an objective that doesn't fit the position, right? So if you're a back end developer, don't put in your objective that you're looking for a front end. Things are not going to match. It's not going to have the nice flow. And like I said, don't have spelling, grammar errors. That looks really bad. Finally, don't put hobbies. Like if you play golf, don't put that on your resume. They don't care that you play golf because what does playing golf contribute to the company? Nothing. Do have that in mind though, for when you're doing an interview, right? So you can have a common point with the interviewee or the manager. So personal experience, when I was applying for GM and I had an interview with the manager, I looked him up on Facebook and I saw that he was a Kansas City's Chiefs fan, and that was the year they won the Super Bowl. And I was like, man, I don't watch football. But then I was like, hold up. So I told him that I was a Kansas City Chiefs fan after they won the Super Bowl. And then we started talking about football. He kept telling me a bunch of shit I didn't know. And I was like, hey, man, why you just kept playing along with it? You know, and I think that gave me the job too because he was like a white guy. I was Hispanic. And he was like, hold up, we got something in common. We both like the Chiefs. So that gave me the job. Also, it's okay to assume that they're not going to know what you're talking about on your resume. So don't put any acronyms. I mentioned this over and over again. Don't put SHPE, like SHPE. They're not going to know what that stands for. Don't put acronyms. Don't assume that they will know what you're capable of. So if you're a mechanical engineer, don't assume that just because you're an ME that you're going to know CAD. Don't think that they will know that. So always put everything down. Next, like I said, do your research on the company. So the way the research works is you first look at their vision and mission and values, right? You do this to see if it aligns with your mission and vision, right? If a company is really strong culture and diversity, they're gonna put this on their mission and values, right? So you compare it with yours, see if that aligns. Also, you look at what the company specializes in. There's a lot of companies out there like what's the parent company of Pico? Like Epsilon. They have different things, right? Like they branch into Pico and other companies. So make sure you do look at what they specialize in. That way you have a better idea of knowing what you're getting yourself into, right? Research what are the needs that they're looking for in a candidate, right? So you don't want to apply for a job that they're looking for back-end developers and you're a front end. They're not going to call you. You're just going to waste your time. So make sure you look up what they want. Also research. In this research, trying to think what immediate benefits you can provide, right? So if it's a startup and they're looking for people to develop their website and you already have experience with websites, that's an immediate benefit you can apply to the company, which is helping them build their website. Also, what interests you about the company or industry. So if you like cars and you're a mechanical engineer, think about Epsilon, think about these other companies, right? If you're what else? If you're an electrical engineer and you like power, think about PSEG and other this electrical and utilities companies, right? And finally, how does your previous experience relate to the position? So if you always worked on, let's say, on power stuff, if you had like two jobs on power for electrical engineer, you're going to have a lower chance of getting a job on microchips because even though they both apply to electrical engineer, it's two different tracks, two different fields. So make sure your previous experience kind of aligns or relates to the position you're applying to. Also, update your LinkedIn. And if you forgot, there's some things to remember. Like I said, keep your photo up, customize your URL. You can put in your name, your email, whatever, but something that identifies you and has somewhat a relation to you. Like I said, keep the summary up. Make sure it's compelling. It's nice and neat. Add your resume. I don't think normal people can see your resume on LinkedIn, but the recruiters can. So if you have your resume in there, they will see it and they can get it from there. Also update your experiences and skills and strengths, like I mentioned. And finally, complete the skills assessment to stand out. Those are like the little tests and quizzes they give you to make sure you know what you're doing, right? So if you think you know CAD, you can take a skills assessment on CAD on LinkedIn and get certified by LinkedIn on it. Those are really important, and it really makes you stand out. Not everyone does them. So making the first step, this is where the elevator pitch comes in. So like when they ask, tell me about yourself, right? And the things to remember is that you gotta introduce yourself first of all. Introduce your name, your year, and your major, right? If you have like something that stands out, like if you're honors college, you can say that. It's like, hey, I'm Juan Camacho. I'm an honor student at NJT. There you go. That takes care of that. Define what you do and how you relate to the job. So if you're applying to like a drones company, right? You can mention in that you're in the robotics club or in that you're in taking the drones fundamental class. Make sure you relate something to the job so they know you can be a potentially good candidate. Think about 3 or 5 past experiences that are relevant to the job. This can come in formal stories or class projects or just an experience in class, right? So if you're applying for Motorola, the people that make they used to make the phones, but now they just make the walkie-talkies, right? And you had a signal processing class, relate that to sound waves and how to transmit sound waves over long distances. It doesn't have to be like an actual project you worked on, but just simple experiences that relates to the job or the company. Also list 3 to 5 strengths that are related to this job. Some of this can be like teamwork because almost every engineering job requires teamwork. Some of this can be like you can do like multitasker, that you're work organized. These are non-technical skills, but always keep technical skills in there related to the job. And finally, mention what brought your attention to the company. And this is where that research comes in, right? If you can say that you were looking at their website and a recent news article popped up that I said that we're working on this, and that interests you. Or that you were looking at their website and their mission and values agree with what you agree with. Anything that relates, right? So we went over this. This is the sample language. So I'm pretty sure most of you were here for that. So this is the format you basically will follow for that. Tell me about yourself. You start with your name, where you're a student at, your degree, major, experience, strengths, accomplishments, and so on and so on. I went over this, and if you want to take a closer look at this, we'll have the slides, the QR code for the slides at the end, so you can just take a look at it on your own time. There's another example. I went over this again on that previous presentation, but we'll have the slides over so you can take a closer look since you barely can see that. And I don't really want to read all that and bore you guys. All right, so remember when I said perfect your communication skills? This also includes non-verbal communication skills. So things as body language, that includes smiling, nodding, making eye contact. I know when you go to a recruiter and you ask about the company, they're going to tell you a bunch of stuff about the company that you don't really care about. And this one, the nodding is going to come in. They're just going to start talking to you, and you're like, yeah, because they're just talking. So, and you can't really answer. It's just talking. And that's when you nod, and always make sure you're doing eye contact, right? And I guess smiling. If you have an awkward smile, just try to keep it not as awkward or practice it. But yeah. But then this also includes verbal communication skills, right? So speak clearly. Don't try to rush it. If you rush it, it's gonna look like you're nervous. Know when to stop talking, start listening. So if you have a bunch of questions, don't ask all of them at the same time. Ask one, then have a conversation about that, then ask the other one, and so on and so on. Also, don't get too personal. Don't be like, so what are you doing tonight? They don't want you to know, and they don't care what you're doing tonight. So don't ask. It just makes it awkward. Unless if you know the person. I know a lot of us, whenever we go to like SHPE career first, we see old SHPE members and old SHPE board. I guess with them we get a little bit more personal because we already know them and it's cool. But with someone you don't know, don't do it. And also ask questions to show interest. This also where the research comes in. So if you do your research, you're gonna come up with questions about things you saw. Make sure you ask this. But from personal experience, don't go too deep. I remember once I went like really deep into technical stuff, and the guy just looked at me and I was like, "Hey, yo, I didn't even know we did that." And I'm like, "Okay." So he couldn't answer my questions at all. So don't go too deep. Try to keep a surface level, kind of the surface level where like every employee can answer that question. Also have a conversation. I remember mentioning this before. It's like try not to like sell yourself out like just by reciting everything good about you. Try to make it into a conversation. And I said this during the elevator pitch that I don't really have a written one. I just know the format, the basic format for it, and I fill in the things as I go along. That way, it makes it sound more smooth and it makes it sound more like conversation instead of me remembering this paragraph word for word. right? So also be ready to answer additional questions, like walk me through your resume. That's why you're gonna make sure that everything you put in your resume, you're confident enough to know what you're talking about. I know some people, they giving them the resume and they say, "Oh, tell me about this project," and then people freeze because either they didn't work on the project at all, or they just were a small part of it and they overhyped it. And they can see this when you don't know what you're talking about or you lied on your resume. It's clearly visible. So make sure everything you put in there, like you're good to go. I have some stuff, I'm gonna be honest, that I never really participated like fully on, but I'm confident enough to talk about it, right? So I know from the people that were working on it that I know what they do and I know the problems and all that. But I didn't directly work on those stuff, but I'm still confident to put it there because I can talk about it, right? They can also ask you, tell me something that's not on your resume. Here can come in like the things that are not related to the job, but still important, right? So if you're applying for a front end job and you have back end experience, you can mention that back end experience. It's not on your resume because it doesn't relate to it, but it still shows that you have various skills and not just that one thing, right? They can also ask you, tell me about yourself. In here, you can say things like where your passion for engineering came from, or what guided you to choose engineering, or what guided you to choose the company, and so on. Also, what experiences you had that separate you from others. These recruiters are looking for people that are kind of special and are not like the bunch, right? They want the top of the top people. So make sure you do have something. It can be anything, to be honest. It can be that you're here, that you're part of SHPE. Not everyone's part of SHPE. We're a small group compared to like the whole NJT population and compared to the whole world. So that's something special. And finally, why are you interested in this position? This is also where that research comes in part, right? You don't want to answer this, oh, it's because you guys pay well, or oh, it's because I need a job. Make sure you're actually interested in the position and they can see that you have a passion for it in some way, shape, or form, right? As I said, remember about body language. So aside from like nodding, smiling, and like saying yes, also make sure your posture is correct. Uh, Make sure your hand position is correct. So someone told me about this when you go in for a handshake and like you shake someone's hand, make sure that their hand is like on top of yours. So if you're going for a handshake, make sure like it's like this, like their hand is on top and then yours is at the bottom. It's kind of like a sign of respect and that they're in a higher position than you. So keep this in mind. Uh, your responsiveness, make sure that you actually show interest in what they're telling you and what they ask you. Don't be there with a dead face and answering vaguely because it's just going to show that you're not interested. And some final touches, set up and test ahead of time. So what I used to do for career first, I used to research the companies a couple days before. I used to write them all in my notebook, and I used to go over them. So that in the middle of the career fair, I wouldn't be looking over at the notebook and seeing like to try to remember the facts and stuff. So make sure you test and set up, rehearse. So rehearse your elevator pitch and rehearse a couple questions that they might ask. As I said before, like, oh, tell me something that's not on your resume. Make sure you rehearse kind of answers like this. And like I said, don't go writing them down and reading word for word, but make sure you go over them. Like, how would you answer them in your head? Prepare your environment. So since this is a virtual career fair, you're going to be out of your home with your camera on. So make sure it's not too messy back there. Make sure there's no distractions that can prevent the recruiter from like not paying attention to you, right? So if you have a poster of some kind in the back, that's extravagant or something, make sure that's not showing up. Also make sure your mic quality is good. They don't want to talk to someone with a echoing mic or a messed up mic. So make sure all of that is good. Also dress up. Since it's just the camera, it's just the top half, so you can just dress halfway and be on underwear for the bottom. You're not gonna have to stand up, but make sure to dress up. For guys, that's like shirt and a tie. You don't have to go with like a full-on jacket since it's virtual. So shirt and a tie is perfectly good. For the girls, I guess the same thing applies. I'm not sure about the girls, but yeah. Oh, yeah, there you go. Also, get in the zone. So when you go in there, make sure you set a time for the career fair so you can focus on just that. Don't really have your phone around. Don't have any video games around. Set time for that. Get on the zone of professionalism and getting the job. I know like we're not supposed to act professional all the time, but you should be able to have that switch where you switch from casual to professional and make sure when you start, you click that switch. Right. And like I said before, we are gonna have a resume review on the 9th. So bring your resumes, print them out, try to print them out, bring multiple copies since there will be multiple people to review your resume. So bring it out. We'll give you feedback. We'll mark things that we would like you to change, mark things that are obviously wrong, like blunts and all that stuff. So make sure you come up. That's also the PDF of the slides. And we're going to post this on our website and like send you an email when they're ready and when they're up. Also, the WebEx is being recorded, so that's also going to go up on YouTube if you want to look at it again. Thank you.
Thanks for presenting. Peace and you. Aside from that, I strongly urge you guys to come out every night. As of now, we have confirmed at least Schneider Electric coming in, as well as Turner Construction. So that's Civi as well as electrical. Hopefully we get some more confirmation. I do believe hopefully UPS can make it for many Yankees that want to come or walk through the computer. We have posted as a chef on the 7th. I have strawberry tres leches. It's really good. It's a personal favorite of mine that we sell, and I make sure to buy some before it sells out. Aside from that, so we have resume review February 9th, and then make sure you guys attend the career fair. We did go over it briefly, so how you should sign up. And make sure if you're looking to go, you take up slots now. Slots go up really. You start looking a day or two before a lot of the slots and a lot of the times that you probably. So it only takes a few minutes to go on Handshake, and then just really quickly go on, take a slot, and then you don't have to, and then you can forget about it, right? We do have a networking event coming soon on February 16th. It's going to be an online networking event with Church and Dwight. If you're not familiar with that company, they're in charge of like the Arm & Hammer stuff, a lot of cleaning products. So if you're a chemie, if you're an N, there's a really good opportunity for you guys to network and really get an idea of senior leadership there. I'll get the information out as soon as I can. I just found out about this yesterday. And that's it for the most part. Once again, thank you guys for coming. And this will be uploaded onto YouTube ASAP, so that way you guys can get some last minute cramming in. If you're not sure of anything, you can always reference back to these videos on the YouTube channel. And if you guys don't know what the YouTube channel is, just search up NJT Chef. I hope it pops up. I haven't tried it. But if you want to share a way to get to it, if you go on our Discord, in the announcements tab, we post announcements pretty frequently of when we post them live, and then we put a link to the channel and you guys can get to it there. So aside from that, thank you guys for coming once more. If you haven't grabbed a snack or water from the back, feel free to.